Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shiur.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Shabbos Daf Nun Hey. On the second line from the top, it says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda have a Yosef Kamei de Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda was sitting in front of Shmuel. Asoi Itzisa. This woman came along. Kotzavcha Kamei. She cried out in front of him, in front of Shmuel, about some injustice that was done to her. And Shmuel wasn't paying attention to her. Rabbi Yehuda turned to his Rabbi Shmuel and he said, Lo yisavar lo mar. Do you not hold of the pasuk which says, Oitem oznoi mizakas dal, one who closes his ears from listening to the outcry of a dal, of a pauper. Gam hu yikra v'lo yi'ana. He too, when he calls out in heaven, they won't respond to him. So why are you ignoring her? Why aren't you paying attention to her? Amalei, so Shmuel responded, Shina, sharp one. Reishach bekriri. Your head, meaning your teacher, I, Shmuel, who's your Rebbe, bekriri, he won't be scalded in hot water. Bekriri, he'll be merely given cold water. He won't suffer as a consequence of ignoring this woman. Why? Reisha de reishich. The head of your head, meaning my Rebbe, my teacher, Bichamimi, he will be scalded in hot water. What do you mean to say? I'm not responsible. You know who is responsible? Take a look. Ha Yosef Mar Ukva Ar Bezdin. Mar Ukva, who is the head of the court, head of the Bezdin, he is responsible. He's the one who must ensure that justice occurs here, and he is the one that will take responsibility if he should ignore the outcries of this woman. I'm not responsible. I'm not the head of the Bezdin. It is not within my ability to be shofet. It is only in the hands of Marukva. The Chsiv, as it says, Beis David, Koyam Hashem. Hashem is speaking to Beis David. Dinu laboker mishpat. You should go ahead and conduct your mishpat in the morning. Ba'atzilu gazel miad oishek, and save the gazel, the one who was robbed from the oppressor. Pen teitze keish chamasi ubara, lest my wrath, my anger go out and burn like a fire. Nobody will be able to put it out. As a result of your wicked deeds, the wickedness of your actions. So the point is that Hashem only punishes those that it is within their ability to be shofet, to judge and to rule and to right all injustices. So complain to Mar Ukva, don't complain to me. Continues the Gemara, Amar lei Rav Zera, the Rav Simon, Lochinu mar, why don't you offer reproof, Lahani the Reish Galusa, to those in the Reish Galusa, the head of the exile. Why don't you reproof them for their misdeeds? Why don't you give them to Chacha? Amar lei, Rav Simon responded, Lei b'kabel b'nayu. They won't listen to me. They won't heed to my words, to my teichacha. So what's the point? Amar lei, so Rav Zera told him, even so, even if they don't accept, you should go ahead and give them teichacha, protest, reprove them. Why is that? The Omar of Achabar Chanina. It is so important. This is achrayus, this responsibility, to go ahead and to offer teichacha, to protest when seeing something improper. It's so important, it's so crucial. Rav Achabar Chanina told us as follows: Me'olam lo yatesa mida toiva mipi HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It never happened that a mida toiva, a positive gzeira decree, was uttered by Hashem, v'chazba, and he should go back on his word. He should retreat from it. It never happened. When Hashem makes a gzeira toiva, he doesn't go back on his word. It never happened that midah toiva came out from Hashem's mouth, except chutz midavar zeh, except something which is related to this concept of the achrayus responsibility, to be moichiach, to offer teichacha to another person who's doing a misdeed. As you will see from the following story, the chsiv, as it says in the pasuk, Hashem told Gabriel, Avoir b'seichir, go ahead and pass through the city, B'Seich Yerushalayim, V'Hisveisa Tav, and go ahead and draw a letter Taf, Al Mitzchos Anashim, on the foreheads of the people Hananochim, V'Hananokim, who groan and moan. Hananochim means to sigh, V'Hanokim who are moaning. Al Kol HaTo'evos Hanasas B'Seicha. These are the tzaddikim who are so upset about all the to'evos, the abominations, the averos that are being done in Yerushalayim. So what's the point of making a letter tough on their forehead? It is a sign that they're meant to be spared from the gzera, from the retribution, from the einish. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Gavriel, Lech, go ahead, Urushoim, mark down al mitzchon shal tzaddikim, on the foreheads of these tzaddikim, tav shal joy, the letter tav with using ink. Shelo yishlet b'hem malachei Kabbalah. So the angels of destruction should not be shaylet on them, should not have an effect on them. So the tzaddikim are not meant to be included in the einish, in the gzera, in the destruction. However, on the foreheads of the Rishaim, you should go ahead and draw a tav, a letter tav, shaldam. Draw it using blood. What is the simon? What is that sign? So the Malach Kabbalah, the angels of destruction, should go ahead and affect them and give them an einish. So Hashem differentiated, made a distinction between the tzaddikim who had a tav of ink and was indicative of their special status, that were meant to be spared from the Malach Kabbalah that was going to offer einish to the Rishaim in Yerushalayim. Amra b'des hadin l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The midas hadin, the attribute of strict justice in Shemayim, complained to Hashem as follows: Rebbeinu Shalom, ma nishtanu elu elu. Why are the tzaddikim spared? What is the difference between the tzaddikim and the Rishaim? Amrullah, Hashem said, very simple: Halalu tzaddikim gmurim, v'halalu Rishaim gmurim. These are tzaddikim gmurim, and these are complete Rishaim. What do you mean? What is the difference between these two? Amrullah fanav, Rebbeinu Shalom. So the Misadim responded to Hashem, said, Rebbeinu Shalom. Although they personally, the tzaddikim personally were okay, they didn't do any averis. Nevertheless, they're still held accountable. They're responsible for the averis of their Rishaim. Why? Haya b'yadam limchais. They had the ability to be meicha, to protest. V'lo yimichu, and they refrained from doing so. So they are also to be held accountable for the averis of their Rishaim. Amar Las, Hashem responded to the Misadin, Galu v'yadu lefanai, it is known and revealed to me. She'michu b'hem lo yikablu mehem. It is gully, it is revealed, yadu and known, lefanai, before me, that if they would have been meicha, lo yikablu mehem, the Rishaim would not have received the teichacha. They would not have altered their behavior or changed their ways. So we can't hold the tzaddikim accountable for it. Continues the Gemara, Amr lefanav. So the Mitzvah responded again, Rebbeinu Shalom, Im lefanecha gali. Fine, if to you this is revealed, you know the future, past, present, future to you is all one. However, lahemi gali, was this revealed to the tzaddikim? How are they supposed to know what the consequence of their techacha would be? Perhaps the techacha can yield good results. So why in their minds did they go ahead and refrain, give up from giving techacha? Yes, they are to be held accountable for the averis of Rishaim. Now Tosfos points out, the Gemara means when is a suffix, there's an uncertainty whether the person will be makabel techacha, then certainly the Midas Hadin had a solid claim, you're meant to offer techacha. Although in reality, the act would have taken place regardless. As Hashem said, I know it would have happened. They wouldn't have prevented any averis from taking place. But that's not their business. We're not meant to reckon with the future. Our achrayus, our responsibility, our obligation rests in the present moment. The Torah tells us, you're meant to offer teichacha, to protest, to direct your friend, to act properly. You're meant to keep that obligation, fulfill that chiv, that mitzvah. And if one neglects to do so, he is responsible for the outcome, even though it would happen regardless. But he's an accomplice. He takes part. He has an achrayus in the Avera sins. He did not attempt to prevent it. So Tosfos says this is only in a case where it's uncertain whether the other person will accept. But Tosfos says, in a case where Vaday lo mikabli, if we know for sure, for certainty, that it will not be accepted, that the reproof, the teichacha, will not have any effect whatsoever, says Tosfos, better don't offer any teichacha. Okay, so the Midas Hadin complained and said, well, they had no way of knowing whether or not their teichacha will be effective. So you can't absolve them of their obligation, of their responsibility, and they're held accountable for the chait of the Rishonim. You can't spare them. Let's not make a distinction between Tzaddikim and Rishonim, and indeed Hashem accepted this argument as it says, V'hainu l'chsiv, as it says in the Pasuk. Zokein, Bochor, Psula. So the Pasuk begins describing the ordinary people, the Zokein, the Bochor, the elder, the young man, the Psula, the Taf, the children, the Nashim, and the women, Ta'argul Mashchas. Kill them, destroy them. Va'al kol ish asher olav hatav al tigoshu. However, to those who have the tav, meaning the tzaddikim, don't get close to them. So other ones, tahargul mashches, kill them to destruction, but spare the tzaddikim. But then the pasuk continues by saying, Umimigdashai tochelu, and this indicates that the Gemara will say this is referring to the tzaddikim, that they were also included subsequently in the Gzeira to suffer einish together with the Rishonim. So you see that Hashem accepted this argument. And it says, Uksiv, Vayochelu ba'anoshim askedim, asher ofnei abayis. So the einish was commenced ba'anoshim askedim. The malachim, the Melech Chavola began applying their punishment, their retribution, with who? Ba'anoshim hazkedim, by these elders, by the Chacham Mashafnei Abayis, that were in front of the Beis Hamikdash. So once again we see that Hashem accepted the argument of the Midas Hadin. Tanu Rav Yosef al Tikri Migdashi. The pasuk says Migdashi Tachelu. Instead of reading Migdashi, the drasha is meant to go as follows: Elo Mikudashai. The pasuk is saying Mikudashai Tachelu, referring to the people, my holy ones, my tzaddikim, Elu bnei Adam, shekimu sator kula mi alaf ataf. Referring to the tzaddikim who fulfilled, who makayim the Torah entirely from the beginning to the end, from the Al to Ataf. So indeed Hashem changed the Gzeira. He instructed the Malach Chavola, the angels of destruction, to affect tzaddikim as well. Not only affect them as well, but begin with them. They carry the prime responsibility for what happened for the misdeeds of the Rishonim as a result of the fact that they didn't bother to offer them reproof and teichacha. So let's just go back for a second to the discussion between Rav Zera, who asked Rav Simon, why don't you offer teichacha to the Reish Galusa, to the Bei Reish Galusa, to those in the Reish Galusa's home? And he said, well, what's the point? I know it won't be effective anyway. And he told him, no, nevertheless, go ahead and push, try, make an attempt. Perhaps you'll be successful. And as Tosfos points out, he was uncertain, he wasn't sure 100% that they won't accept it. Therefore, you're meant to proceed and at least try your best. And as the Gemara proceeded with the Memra, the teaching from Rav Achavar Chanina, that this proves how important it is, how crucial it is, how great this responsibility of teichacha is, that we see in the story with Gabriel, with the tzaddikim in Yerushalayim, that they were held accountable and responsible for the chatoim of the Rishonim on account of the fact that they didn't offer teichacha. So here too, regarding the story of Reish Galusa, the Gemara is pointing out how important it is that you're meant to go ahead and offer teichacha even in an uncertain situation. Okay, getting back to Gabriel, to the tzaddikim in Yerushalayim, the Gemara continues miyad immediately. So 6 people. This is 6 forms of malachim, malach chavola. They were coming from derech shar elyon, from the way of the upper gate, asher mafnat zafaina, which was leading to north. Veish klima patza biyada. Each one has this weapon of mapatza, of scattering, of destruction, some sort of weapon, some sort of kli. V'ish echad b'soichem l'bush habadim. And there was one between them who was Lavush Habadim, who was actually the Malach Gabriel, who was enclothed in badim and sheets. V'keses hasoife b'masav. He's wearing these what appear to be linen. V'keses hasoife b'masnav. And this Lavush Habadim, this Malach who was wearing these linen sheets, he was holding this. He had this keses hasoifer, this inkwell, b'masnav ties to his waist, to his lions. Vayovayu vayamdu etz mizbach hanachoshes. So they all came and they stood up near the mizbach hanachoshes. Says more 1 second. Mizbach hanachoshes in the Beis Hamikdash. Mizbach hanachoshes miyava, was there a mizbeach made of copper? We know that Shlomo Melech, he replaced the mizbeach hanachoshes that was built in the midbar. He replaced this with a mizbeach which was built, mizbeach avonim. So why does the pasuk here reference the mizbeach hanachoshes? Says the Gemara that the pasuk here is referring to something. We're meant to make a drasha here. Amar LaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu instructed these angels of destruction. Haschilu, begin your einish, begin your retribution, begin the destruction. You should go ahead and begin the einish. Apply it firstly. It should begin with the from the Levium that go ahead and say Shira in front of you by the makrava of the karbanis, by the mizbeach, and they offer Shira song using instruments of nechoshes of copper. So we see that indeed the tzaddikim, the Leviim, the Mekudashai, the most holy ones, they are the ones who suffered first. The Gzeir was applied to them before everybody else. Says the Gemara, Man Ninu Shisha Anoshim. Who are these 6 Anoshim that the pasuk is referring to? Amar Chizda Ketzef Af V'chema, various forms of anger, Mashchas, destruction, Marshber, and breakage, Machala, and annihilation. So various forms of angels of destruction who came to perform this Gzeira, to carry out the Gzeira and the Einish on the Jews in Yerushalayim. Continues the Gemara. So we had the letter Tuf that was drawn on the foreheads of the tzaddikim, of the Rishaim. Why specifically this letter Tuf? Well, what does it symbolize? Umayishna Tuf, Amarav. Tav denotes the word tichya, live, and that's for the tzaddikim. Tav can also denote Thomas, and this was on the Rishaim. So initially the Tav on the tzaddikim was a symbol of life, tichya. The one drawn on the Rishaim symbolizes death, Thomas. Ushmuel Amar, I have another interpretation. The Taf is referring to Tamas Chosavis. The merits of our forefathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, already became exhausted. It was used up. Tama. It expired. And this is referring to the Rishaim, who don't carry on the ways, the righteous ways of our forefathers, and indeed the Chos Avos. It does not apply to them. They can't plug in, they can't check in, they can't take advantage of these chus avos. Rabbi Yochanan Amar. So this is regarding the Rishaim. The Taf referred to the concept of tamas chus avos. For them, the chus of the avos already terminated. What about the Taf on the tzaddikim? Says Rabbi Yochanan, and tachans chus avos. Indeed, the grace, the chus avos will grace them, will endow them. They will be able to receive a schus on account of the avos. Rish Lakish Amar, I have a different suggestion. The Taf is Saif Chaysama Shaklesh Baruch Hu. It was the last letter in the seal of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the signature of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Damar Chanina, Chaysama Shaklesh Baruch Hu Emes. Hashem's seal is what? Is the word Emes. As Rashi explains, Chaysama Shaklesh Baruch Hu Emes, that the Aleph and the Mem and the Saf are the first, middle, and last of the Aleph base to symbolize the omnipresence and eternity of Hashem. Hashem is the Rishain, Hashem is the Achrein, and in the present as well, past, present, and future, all wrapped in one. That is the word Emes. So the point of placing it on the forehead of the tzaddikim, the Rishaim, is meant to symbolize the truth of Hashem, the integrity, the emeskeit of Hashem. With regard to schar, offering reward, due reward, when one deserves it, Hashem is truthful in his granting of reward regarding the tzaddikim. And regarding the Rishon, Hashem as well is honest and truthful. And is emes when it comes to granting einish, retribution to the Rishon as well. So the Saf here denotes the word emes. Another pshat, Rabbi Shmuel Rachmani says, Amar Rav Shmuel Rachmani, Elu b'nei Adam, shekimus ha'Torah kula, me'alaf ataf. The taf here symbolizes the fact that the person, this is the taf on the tzaddik's forehead, the tzaddik kept, he complied with the entire Torah. Shekimus ha'Torah kula me'alaf ataf. So the taf here symbolizes the last letter of Torah. He came from the beginning, he journeyed throughout the Torah all the way to the end. Therefore, he's meant to be spared. Likewise, the taf on the Rishaim symbolizes just the opposite. He transgressed the entire Torah from beginning to end. Continues the Gemara. We made reference to Tamas Chosavis. The schos of our Avos, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, has already expired, has already been exhausted. And as Tosfos points out, this only refers to the Rishaim who don't carry on the ways of our Avos. Says the Gemara, Mei Masai Tamas Chosavis. When did that take place? What was the point in history where the schos Avos cannot be applied anymore to the Rishaim? Amar Rabbi Moisei Sheya ben Be'eri. From the time of Sheya ben Be'eri, Shenemar, Agale es navlusa, I will reveal their disgrace, her disgrace, la'enim aver, the eyes of her lovers, v'ishlei tzelana miyadi, and nobody will save her from my hands. Apparently, even the schos Avos don't have the ability to save her. Ushmul lamed mechazoil, from the days of Chazol, Shenemar, v'chazol melech Aram, loch atzes Yisrael, he oppressed Klal Yisrael, kol yemei yochos, uksiv, and it says, v'yochan Hashem oisam, Hashem displayed grace towards Klal Yisrael, v'yirachmim, had mercy on them, v'yifen aleihem, and turned to them, why? Leman brisoi, es Avram, es Yitzchak v'Yaakov, on account of the covenant, the bris, with their avos, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, v'lo yovash chisam, and he didn't have a desire to destroy them, v'lo yishlichem al panav ad ata, and did not cast them away from reform up until now. As Rashi points out, so this only applies. This chos avos can only be applied ad ata until this point. But apparently from here on in, going forward, this chos avos will not have the same effect. Rabbi Shul ben Levi Amar, Mimei Eliyahu, from the days of Eliyahu. Shenemar, as it says, Vayiv alei mincha, when it came time for the hakrav of the mincha, Vayigash Eliyahu Nov Vayomer. Eliyahu came forward and he said, Vayomer Hashem Elokei Avraham Yitzchak Yisrael, Hayom Yivada, let it be known today, Ki Ata Elokim Yisrael, that you are Hashem in Klal Yisrael. Vani Avdecha, I am your servant. Ubid Barcha Asisi Es Kol Advar Me'ela. And I was heeding your words, I was listening to your words by doing all these things. So the pasuk here is saying, Hashem, let it be known that you remember the bris, the covenant, the bris between yourself and Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. And the pasuk stresses the word Havayom Yivada. Today, let it be known. Apparently, it's only up until today, not going forward. Shenemar, it says in the pasuk of Yeshaya, Lemar BeHamisra, for the increase of sovereignty, L'Sholem in Kates, and for endless peace, Al Kisei David, on the throne of David, Val Mamlachta, in his kingdom, L'Hachet Oisa, to establish her, U'Lesada b'Mishpat, and to support it with Mishpat, with justice, with tzedakah, righteousness, Me'at v'Adon, forever. Why should this take place? Kinas Hashem tzvakos tasazos. This should be as a result of Hashem's kinah, Hashem's wrath, anger towards the enemies of Yerushalayim. When Hashem comes in the defense of Yerushalayim and the Kisei David. So it's not as a result of schus avos, but rather the kinas Hashem tzvakos will accomplish this. So apparently, it's because the schus avos has already terminated. So in summary, the Gemara taught us the tremendous responsibility, achrayus, of teichacha, one who is in the position, the ability to offer teichacha, reproof to those that do averis. They're responsible to do so. As the Gemara pointed out, even if there's an uncertainty as to whether they'll accept and heed the reproof, as the Gemara illustrated with the story of Yerushalayim. So first we began with the story of the woman who came to Shmuel, who ignored her, and he said, "It is not within my ability to pass judgment here. It is the job of the Ukmar, Ukva, who is the Av Bezin, as the pasuk says, Beis David are meant to pass judgment. It's within their ability to be shayfet, to right the wrongs, to judge the oppressors, and therefore they're held responsible." The more proceeded with the story of the Einish, even to the tzaddikim in Yerushalayim, on account of their failure to offer teichacha to the Rishayim. The Gemara proceeded with the letter Tav, and what is the significance of it? We have several pshatim. Either Tav denotes Tichya or Tamus. It denotes Tamus Chosaves or Tachins Chosaves. Tav can mean the last letter in the Chaysim Hashem, which is Emes, or Tav symbolizes the entire Torah, either keeping the entire Torah from beginning to end, or being over, transgressing the Torah from beginning to end. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Ami, Ein misa b'lo chet. There's no such a thing as death without sin. Meaning, the reason why a person dies is a result of his averis. Evidently, everybody does some form of misdeed, as the pasuk says, pasuk in Te'eles, Ki Adam ein tzaddik ba'aretz asher ya'asu tov lo yechta. We all do something wrong, we're human beings, and the misa comes as a result of that. Ve'in yisurim b'lo yavain. Similarly, regarding yisurim, tragedies, they only come as a result of averis. So yisurim, afflictions, as a result of avin. Ein misa b'lo chet. How do I know that misa comes as a result of chet? Tichsir ha'nefesh ha'chetas hitamas. A nefesh that sins, it dies. Ben lo yisa b'avayna av, a son is not responsible for the sins of his father. V'av lo yisa b'avayna ben, a father is not responsible for the averis of his son. Tzidkas ha'tzadik, olav tia, the righteousness of a tzaddik descends on him. V'rishus ha'rasha, olav tia, the wickedness of the rasha affects him. Everybody is responsible for what they did. Ein yisurim b'lo yavain. Where do we find that? Tichsiv v'fakadti b'shevet pisha. I'll visit with a shevet, with a rod. There are various meaning. I will offer einish to on account of the averis of the goyim avoinam, and as a result of the avoinam of their sins, I will visit them with the goyim, with afflictions. We see clearly that yisurim, afflictions and misfortunes only come as a result of averis. The shevet only comes as a result of pisham of their averis, and then the goyim comes to address their averis. Ubin the goyim, I will address their averis. So Rabbi maintains that there's a direct link between chet and misa, and between avain and yisurim. Says more, is that so? Is it really inevitable that misa can only be as a result of a chet? Meisvei, we learned in the Bryce. Amru malach hashos v'akadosh baruch hu. Rebbeinu shaloi, the master of the world. V'nipnei ma konasta misa. Al Adam Rishon, why have you penalized Adam Rishon with death? Why did you bring about misa to Adam Rishon? Amar lehem, very simple. Mitzvah kal tzivisi v'avar leo. I commanded him to do a very easy mitzvah, to refrain from eating the Eitz Hadas, and he was over and he transgressed on my commandment. So what was the back and forth? What was the dialogue here? Explain to Mefarshim as follows. The Malachim asked Hashem, it was merely one Avera. It was his first time doing an Avera. Generally, you're not so strict and don't come down so severely on a person who does one Avera his first time. Hashem responds by saying, yeah, ordinarily speaking, if a person does an Avera, okay, but Adam HaRishon, this wasn't merely a private, personal matter. Adam HaRishon was the first of humanity. He was the father of mankind. As Mefarshim say, within Adam HaRishon were included all the future generations. All of humanity was included in Adam HaRishon. He was the source of everything. So when he did an avera, even a very mitzvah kala, a seemingly not so severe avera, nevertheless, he affected all of humanity. The whole world was affected, was impacted by his avera. It's no simple matter. And indeed, he suffers this very severe retribution of bringing Misa upon himself and all of mankind. Continues the Gemara. So the Malachim further, they asked Hashem further. We find that Moshe and Aaron, even though they were Makayim the entire Torah, Umeisu, nevertheless they too died. Why is that? Why did they deserve to die? Hashem said, that one event befalls the tzaddik and the rasha, meaning once the concept of misa, of death, was brought about on the world, nobody is spared, whether a tzaddik or a rasha. Indeed, as a result of their maisim, of their deeds, they would not have been deserving of misa. But this is something applied to all of humanity equally. So in any case, we see from this brisa that misa can befall a person even when there's no chait that is causing it, as in the case of Moshe and Aaron. So this seems to be a contradiction on Rav Ami, who maintained otherwise. Says the Gemara, Hu de Amar ki haytana. Rav Ami is following a different opinion, a different Tana, who indeed maintains that Misa comes only as a result of Chet. The Tana is willing to embrace. Rav Shimon Lazoymer, Af Moshe v'Aaron b'Chet HaMeisu. They too died as a result of their Chet. Shenemar, Yan lo yaman to be as a result of your lack of emunah in me. This was by the story of the Meimi Riva, the water from the rock. Ha haman to be. Apparently, we learn from this pasuk that is only as a result of the lack of emunah, but otherwise, ha haman to be. If you would have fully had faith in me and expressed that, demonstrated that in front of Klal Yisrael, adayin lo yigiaz manchem lipatim min olam, then you wouldn't have died. Your time to depart the world would not have arrived. So apparently, even the Misa Moshe Rabbeinu came as a consequence of a chet. And indeed, Rav Ami follows this opinion. Says Rav Meisi, I'll ask another kasha from the Brisa, which says as follows: Abba Meisu be'etya shel nachash. 4 individuals died only as a result of the etya shel nachash, the advice of the serpent of the nachash, who advised Chava to take from the Eitzadas. Meaning that these people were so righteous, with such tzaddikim of high stature, that they did not deserve to die. The only reason why they died, they had Misa, was as a result of the general Knas, the general einish of Misa, which was applied to the entire world, to entire humanity, as a result of the Chet, of the Eitzadas, that came about through the Nachash. Ve'elu, and who are these 4 individuals? Binyamin, the son of Yaakov, V'Amram, the father of Moshe, V'Yishai, V'David, V'Kilav ben David. V'Kula Gemara, all of them are a tradition. We know this from tradition. Levar, except for one of them, that we know from a pasuk. Levar Miyishai Avi David, the Mefarish Bikra, that is clear from a pasuk. The Chsiv that says, the pasuk says, "Ve'es Amasa." So this individual called Amasa, some Avshalom appointed him, Tachas Yoav, in place of Yoav, Saratzava. Va'Amasa ben Ish. So Amasa, who was appointed as the general of the tzava, he was the son of a person, Ben Ish Ushmoi. He was the son of the person named Yisra HaYisraeli. Now this Yisra HaYisraeli married Asher Ba El Avigail. He married Avigail, who was the daughter Bas Nachash, the daughter of Nachash, Achois Tzeruya. So Avigail was the daughter of Nachash, the sister of Tzeruya, and Tzeruya was the mother of Yoav, Yoav. The question is as follows: is Abigail the daughter of Nachash? Bas Nachash Havoy? V'aloi, we know that she was the daughter of Yisha, Bas Yisha Havoy. T'chsiv, as it says, describing the sons of Yishai. It says V'achiyasein, their sisters, meaning the Yishai's sons, their sisters were Tzeruya of Abigail. So we see that Tzeruya and Abigail were the sisters of the sons of Yishai, meaning that Abigail was the daughter of Yishai. So she was Bas Yishai, not Bas Nachash. Elo meant to darshan as follows: Bas bi Misha Meis be'etish Nachash. Indeed, she was the daughter of Yishai. Why does the Torah refer to Yishai as Nachash? She was the daughter of one who died, and in the result, as a result of the etya shel nachash, the advice of the nachash, meaning he had no reason to die other than the fact that Misa descended upon mankind as a result of the chait of the Eitz Hadas. Okay, so the Brisa tells us that there were 4 individuals who experienced Misa simply as a result of the Gzeira of Misa, which was applied to all humanity. It was not as a result, as a consequence of their Averis. Says Gemara, let's analyze this Brisa. Whose opinion is reflected in this Brisa? Mani, who's the author of this Brisa? Now let's backtrack for a moment. We began the sugya with Rabbi telling us that Misa can only come as a result of Chet. The Gemara asks from Akasha, what the Malachi Ashur is discussing with Hashem, and in that Brisa is contained the fact that Moshe Aaron experienced Misa not as a result of their own Averis, simply as a result of the Mikra Echa, this uniform event which is meant to apply to all of humanity. And that seems to be a kasha, contradiction of Ami's assertion that Misa only comes as a result of Chet. The Gemara proceeded and said, well, we have another Manda Amar, where Shimon Elazar tells us that indeed the Misa that Moshe Aaron experienced was indeed as a result of their Chet. And then we proceeded to our third Brisa, which tells us that 4 individuals was such a high level that their Misa was only as a result of the general phenomenon of Misa, of death applied to mankind. Now, who is the author of this Brisa? Whose opinion is reflected in this Brisa? Is it the Tana who authored the first Brisa of Malachi Ashuris, or is it Rav Shimon Elazar from the second Brisa? Says Ramani, who's the author of this Brisa? Ilay Matana de Malachi Ashuris. This Brisa is compatible with that Tana. It can't be. Why did this Brisa only list 4 individuals that died with a clean slate, with a clean record, only as a result as a consequence of the Etya Shel Nachash? We have another 2, Moshe Aaron, who also experienced death simply due to the Etya Shel Nachash. So apparently this Brisa, the last Brisa, is not compatible with the first Brisa. El Alava must be Rav Shimon Elazar, that this Brisa reflects the sheet of Rav Shimon Elazar, who maintains that Moshe and Aaron don't belong on this list, since their Misa was a result of their Chet. So apparently even Rav Shimon Elazar agrees that there is conceivably such a concept of Shema. No, we see from there Yesh Misa b'lei Chet, Yesh Yisurim b'lei Avon. We see the Rav Shimon Elazar maintains that theoretically speaking there can be such a thing as a Misa without a Chet, and Yisurim not as a result of Avon, because we find that 4 individuals indeed experienced Misa even though they had no Chet that they committed. So once again, we prove that Shimon Elazar also agrees to this concept, because his view is reflected in this Brisa, which listed only 4 individuals, didn't list Moshe Aaron. And this indeed reflects the Shita of Shimon Elazar. And we see clearly that Misa can come even without Chet, utiyufta der Rabbi tiyufta. Indeed, this is a refutation of Shita's Rabbi. Okay, a quick recap here. The Gemara proves that there is such a thing as Misa without Chet, but rather as a result of the general penalty of Misa applied to all humanity, as a result of the Chet, of the Eitz Hadas. We began with the first Brisa that told us that Moshe Aaron, who Meisu b'loi Chet, their Misa was not as a result of their misdeed, but rather the general Chet, the general Knas, the general event that occurs to all of humanity. We proceeded with Rav Shimon Elazar, who told us that yes, Moshe Aaron b'chet amesu, their Misa was a result of their Chet. And we concluded with the Brisa, who told us that there were 4 individuals that died below Chet, but simply as a result of the Etya Shel Nachash, the Chet of the Eitz Hadas, which came as a result of the advice of the Nachash. Continues the Gemara. Omar Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani, Omar b'Yonasan. The Gemara will proceed teaching us a very interesting lesson regarding several very righteous people, big tzaddikim, who in the Torah and Tanakh are described as having committed very severe averos, very grave sins. The Gemara teaches us that it's not to be taken literally, but rather on account of their high madrega, even if they committed a very minor misdeed, which resembled those grave averos, those very severe averos. Indeed, the Torah regards them as having committed those great sins, but it's only on account of their high madrega. But practically speaking, certainly they never committed those averos on that very severe level. Says the Gemara, Omar Rav Shmuel Rachmeni, Omar Rav Yonasan. Kol Omer Reuven Chata. This is the first example regarding Reuven, one of the Shvatim. There describes him as having committed znus with Bilhah, the wife of his father. So one who takes it literally, Kol Omer Reuven Chata, is simply making a mistake. Shenamar, because the same pasuk which describes Reuven's chet by saying that Reuven came, Vayelech Reuven Vayishkav as Bilhah Pelegesh Aviv. So he committed znus with Bilhah, the wife of his father, and it says Vayishma Yisrael. So Yaakov Avinu heard, and the pasuk concludes with the following words: Vayu bnei Yaakov shnei masa. The children of Yaakov, the sons of Yaakov, were 12. What's the point of concluding with those words? Shenamar Vayu bnei Yaakov shnei masa. Malamed is coming to teach us Shekulan Shkulam Kachas. That all of them, all 12 of them, including Reuven, are Shkulam Kachas. They're equated on one level. They're all tzaddikim. And certainly, this implies that Reuven never did znus, never committed this avera. Ella, if so, mani mekayim. How do I explain these words? Vayishkav is Bilhah Pelegesh Aviv. Says the Gemara, indeed he committed some misdeed, but it was a relatively minor misdeed. It resembles the concept of interfering with marital affairs, and therefore the Torah describes it as the chet of znus. So what indeed did he do? Malamed shebilbil matzoy shel aviv. He confused, he messed up the matzoy shel aviv, the bed of his father. As the Mepharshim explained, what did Reuven do? This was after the passing of Rachel Imenu, when Yaakov transferred his bed out of the tent of Rachel and moved it over to the tent of Bilhah, who was the shivcha, the maid servant of Rachel. Now, when Reuven saw this, he wasn't happy. He felt it was inappropriate for Yaakov Avinu to transfer his bed to Bilhah, who was merely a shivcha, maid servant. It should have gone to the tent of his own mother, of Leah. Therefore, he wanted to defend the honor of his mother and to rearrange the beds. So he wanted to facilitate the removal of Yaakov's bed from Bilhah's tent. Some say he laid down on the bed to prevent Yaakov from using it. So he interfered with his father's marital affairs, and as a result, says the Gemara, Umalo levakosav, the Torah regards him ki'ilu shachav ima, as though he committed a chet, znus, with Bilhah, simply as a result of his interfering with his father's marital affairs. So once again, we're not meant to take those words of Vayishkav literally. Tanya, Rav Shimon Lazar Eimer, Mutzel Oitzei Tzadik. That Tzadik Reuven must be that he was separated, spared. He never got involved. He was safe from this type of sin. Certainly this act never came to his hands. He never committed this avera. How do I know that? I'll prove it to you. Efshar can it be that Osid Zari, that his children will stand La'amad al Har Evil. Eventually they will stand on Har Evil, where the Klal Yisrael was standing, and they announced the brachos and the klolos. So his own children will stand there and say, "V'loimar oror shoichev meishes aviv." Cursed is one who will commit znus with Eshes, the wife of his father. Can it be that his own children will utter this curse on their own father? Can it be that they will say that after this chet will be committed by their own father? How would Hashem arrange that to be? It can't be. So it must be that it never took place. Ela mani mekayim. How do I understand these words? Vayishkav as Bilhah Pelegesh Aviv. El imay tava. He meant to address to defend the honor of his mother, to redress the affront of his mother. Amar, he said as follows: If the sister of my wife, meaning Rachel, was a rival to my mother, okay, I understand. So she was worthy. She was worthy of it. She was a sister, fine. So it makes sense. But Shivchas Achois Imi, the maidservant of my mother's sister, meaning Bilhah, who was the maidservant of Rachel, she too, she could consider to be a rival to my mother. I'm not glad that happened. So he was Tava Elbein Imoy. He demanded, he defended the Elbein, the affront, the embarrassment, the degradation of his mother. Omad, as a result, Bilba, Omad, he got up with Bilba's matzah, and he mixed up the beds. He interfered, he disrupted the beds. Matzah, of her bed, Bilha's bed, or referring to Yaakov's bed. In any case, he interfered with the marital affairs of his father, and that was his chet. Others explain as follows. Shtei matzahs Bilba, not only did he disrupt one bed, but actually it was two beds. Achas shel shchina, one referring to the shchina's spread, v'achas shel aviv, and the other one is father's. As Rashi explains, that prior to the building of the Mishkan, where was the Shechina to be found? The Shechina was Metzuya, was found be'olei tzadikim, in the tents of tzadikim. As Rashi points out, that when Yaakov Avinu came home, how did he know which tent to enter? Simple, says Rashi. In the one that he saw the Shechina, that's where he went. So we see that the Shechina rested on Yaakov Avinu's bed, and when Reuven interfered, not only did it disrupt Yaakov Avinu's bed, but also the Shechina spread. That's the pshat in the pasuk. Oz chilalta yitzui Allah. Yaakov is addressing Reuven. He's saying, "You desecrated yitzui Allah, the one that is Allah, the one that went on to my yitzui. Yitzui Allah, the Shechina, which was Allah on my yitzui, on my spread, on my bed." So once again, even though the pasuk seems to describe the severe chet of znus that Reuven committed with Bilhah, nevertheless, the Gemara maintains it's not to be taken literally. It's referring to a more minor chet of disrupting, messing up the bed of Yaakov Avinu. Says the Gemara Tanoi, indeed it's a machlekes Tanoim whether he indeed committed znus or not. Says the Bryce, Pachaz kamayim al teisa. Yaakov tells Reuven that Pachaz kamayim, on account of the hastiness of water, of the flowing water, since you acted in haste when you did that, al toisar, you will not have anything extra. You will not be zeiche to profit, to have these extra things. You forfeited those bracha, those things. Rabbi Lezer Omer that the word Pachaz is actually an acronym Rosh Tevis. Pachaz is a pei, a ches, and a zayin. We're meant to expound as follows: Pazda, you were hasty. Chavta, you sinned. Zalta, you belittled. So indeed, according to Rabbi Lezer, he committed znus. Rabbi Shoimer, similarly, Rabbi Shua also maintains that he did the avera pasat al das. So this is the pei, the ches, and the zayin. Pei is pasat al das. He trampled on the law. Chatasa zanisa. So according to Rabbi Shua as well, there was a znus committed. However, the other shittas disagree. Rabbi Lezer, the pei, the ches, and the zayin is as follows: Pilalta, you davened to be saved from doing a chet. Chalta, this is a more severe form of davening. You entreated. Zorcha tfilascha, indeed your tefillah shone forth, and you were saved from doing a chet. Amar Gamliel, Adayin tzrichen on l'madai. Even though I dash in the pasuk in this manner, but it's still not conclusive. Perhaps the tefillah uttered by Reuven was after he did the chet. The tefillah was that Hashem should forgive him. So it's not really so clear. We need the additional clarity coming from Rabbi Lezer Madai. Rabbi Lezer Madai Omer, hafoiches hateva v'dorsha. We're actually meant to reverse the word, the letters. Instead of pei, ches, zayin, we're meant to dash as follows: zayin, ches, pei. Zayin is izata. You trembled. Hirtata, you lurched back. Porcha chet mimcha, and the sin flew away from you. So indeed, Rabbi Lezer Madai clearly darshans the pasuk to denote that there was no chet committed. So we have machlekes Tanoim whether or not the znus was committed. Rav Amar, v'Amar some say Rav Yirmiyah Abba, that we're meant to darshan the pasuk as follows. Again, the word pachaz in reverse: zayin, then ches, and pei. Zayin is zocharta oinshe shel davar. We recall the punishment which will result after the znus. And therefore, chalisa atzmacha chayli gadol. You restrained yourself to the point that you became sick. Pirashta milachta. You refrained from doing the chet. And indeed, according to this pshat as well, there was no chet committed. Continues the Gemara. So we have several descriptions of tzaddikim and situations where it appears that he committed a severe chet, and the Gemara explained that it was not really so. We have Reuven that we just mentioned, and we have upcoming Bnei Eli, Bnei Shmuel, David, and Shlomo, and Simon. Continues the Gemara regarding the Bnei Eli. Omar of Shmuel Rachmeni, Omar of Yosef. Kol Omer, Bnei Eli chatu, one who maintains that the sons of Eli committed the chet of znus. Once again, Einoi Elotoy, he's making a simple mistake. Shenemar, as it says, V'sham Shnei Bnei Eli, over there in Mishkan Shiloi, there were two sons of Eli, Chafni Pinchas Kanal Hashem. And although the pasuk, we'll bring soon a pasuk which seems to describe their chet of znus, is not to be taken literally. Why? Saval Karav. Rabbi Yonason, who told us that they did not commit the chet of znus, he holds like the sheet of Rav, who holds that Pinchas, so we have two sons, we have Chafni and Pinchas. Rav tells us that Pinchas certainly did not commit znus. The Amar of Pinchas loichat, he did not do the aver of znus, and therefore Rabbi Yonason says that not only didn't Pinchas do the chet, Chafni as well, because he is makish Chafni and Pinchas. Because this pasuk just mentioned, V'sham Shnei Bnei Eli Chafni Pinchas Kanal Hashem. This is an extra pasuk, and it appears that the pasuk is trying to teach us. So we're meant to connect Chafni to Pinchas and learn as follows: Ma Pinchas lechata, just as Pinchas did not commit the aver of znus, as the Gemara will prove later. Av Chafni lechata, same thing regarding Chafni, he did not do the aver of znus. So in conclusion, Rabbi Yonason holds that both of them, Chafni and Pinchas, the sons of Eli, did not do the aver of znus. Elo, if so, mani mekayim, asher yishkevun es hanoshim. How do we explain the pasuk which tells us that they did commit znus with the women? It means as follows: they committed some sort of a minor infraction, relatively minor infraction, but certainly not znus. What it means is as follows: they delayed being marked of their birds, so the Bnei Eli would present all sorts of delays and obstacles on those bringing karbanos. They used to wait until they were able to extract meat from them. So they delayed the hakrava and the women who came to be makriv their birds on account of a tumah of leid or ziva. So they didn't have much confidence that the kahanim will be makriv their karbanos. They need to wait there. They need to linger until they actually saw their karbanos being brought to Mizbeach. So, as a result of the fact that they delayed being makriv the kinim, the birds of the women, as a result, they couldn't go back home to their husbands, and they need to refrain from having relation with their husbands. As a result of this infraction, the Torah regards them, the children of Eli, Chafni, and Pinchas, who caused this, who brought this about, ki'ilu shachma, as if they committed znus with these women. They prevented them from going home, and they tied them, they held them up. So as though they took them, the women to themselves, as though they committed znus with them. But certainly it's not to be taken literally. Actual znus never was committed. Says the Gemara, Gufa, we just learned. Omar Rab, Pinchas lechat. We know for a fact that Pinchas certainly didn't do the aver of znus. Shenemar, how do we know that? Because the pasuk says, V'achia ben Achitov, Achia the son of Achitov, Achi the brother of Ikavit, Ben Pinchas, he was the son of Pinchas, Ben Eliah Kohen, he was the son of Pinchas, a grandson of Eliah Kohen, and he served in the Mishkan. Says the Gemara, it can't be that Pinchas would have committed znus and his son should be a serving Kohen. Efshar chet b'liyad, can it be that a chet of znus was committed by Pinchas, and the pasuk relates his son back to him and says, well, the son of Pinchas served in the Mishkan. The pasuk says, Yachris Hashem li'ish, Hashem will cut off to this person, Asher Ya'asena, who will commit znus. Hashem will cut off, will not allow him to have a descendant. What does this mean? If this person who transgresses is Yisrael, he will not have descendants of Erba Chachamim who have sharpness amongst the Chachamim. Will not have ability to answer by the Talmidim. If the one who transgresses is a Kohen, Ben Makish Mincha will not have a son which will serve a Mincha to Hashem. So apparently it's obvious that Pinchas did not commit znus from the fact that his son served in the Mishkan. Elo Lashma, we know it's apparent raya that Pinchas lechat, indeed he did not do the aver znus. So this is the first assertion that Pinchas we established that he did not do the Avera. And the Rav Shmuel Rachmani told us in the Rav Yonason that based on this premise, we know that Chofni as well did not do an Avera because the pasuk connects the two. So that's his opinion, that both children did not do the Avera of Znus. Then we'll proceed and tell us that there's another opinion, that although Pinchas didn't do it, but Chofni did. Says the Gemara, Lahok Siv, Ashi Yishkevon. So if Pinchas didn't do the Avera, why does the pasuk say in a plural term, they did Znus with the women? Yishkevon Ksiv. We're meant to read it Yishkevon as a Ksiv, even though we read Yishkevon, but the Ksiv, we look at the Ksiv, the way it's spelled, it is spelled in a way that we can read it, that we can understand it in a Lashon Yachid, in a singular term, Yishkevon. So it's referring only to one of them, to Chofni. V'oksiv al bonai kilei tov hashmoa. Eli is chastising them on account of the bad rumors, and referring to both of them al bonai. Apparently, they both did a misdeed. Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak b'niksiv. The wording, when we look at the ksiv, the letters, it can be understood as b'ni, singularly. So this was directed at Chofni, not at Pinchas. V'oksiv ma'virim, they caused them to transgress. So we see once again a Lashon Rabim referring to both of them. Amar Avuna Rishon ma'viram ksiv. Again, we look at the wording and the letters, and it can be understood in a Lashon Yachid. Ma'viram only referring to one of them, to Chofni. V'oksiv b'nei Belial. They're both wicked, b'nei Belial, and as Maharsha points out, that Belial we find in relation to Znus. So the pasuk refers to them as b'nei Belial, as wicked, mitoich, shahayu lo lePinchas limchas lev Chofni. Since Pinchas should have been moichet, should have criticized Chofni on his Avera, v'loi micha, and he refrained from doing so, malal akasav kilachata, to regard him as well as having committed the Avera of Znus, even though practically speaking, he never committed the Avera of Znus. So in summary, we began with Ruvain, and we had a machlekes of whether or not he actually committed the Avera of Znus. According to Rabbi Lezer, and according to Rabbi Yeshua, yes, there was a Znus. According to Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Lezer Medoi, there was no Avera of Znus, but rather merely interfering with the arrangements, the bedroom arrangements of his father. Regarding Chofni and Pinchas, the Gemara tells us that they degraded the Mevazah Kachim, they delayed the Hakrav of the Karbanos. But what about actual Ma'aser Znus? So according to Rav Yonason, none of them actually committed these Znus. However, according to Rav, it appears that although Pinchas never did the Chet of Znus, but Chofni was indeed guilty, and the Gemara concluded that although Pinchas didn't actually commit it, but he was held accountable somewhat, since he could have been Meicha, he could have offered reproof to Chofni, and he refrained from doing so. Therefore, he is lumped together with Chofni in the same pasuk of Bnei Belial. Okay, time for a brief chazara on today's daf. The Gemara began by telling us the tremendous responsibility that lies on the shoulders of one who has the ability to offer teichacha, reproof, to establish justice. For instance, the Av Bezdin, Beis David, who should judge the oppressors, and by refraining from doing so, they receive punishment because they're achroi, they're responsible for the misdeeds of their generation. The Gemara told us regarding the tzaddikim Yerushalayim initially, Hashem meant to spare them, but then eventually he retracted that Gzera Tova. Why? Because they refrained from exercising their obligation to offer teichacha to the Rishayim. The Gemara proceeded with Rav Ami, who told us that Misa can only come as a result of Chet, Yisurim, only as a result of Ava, and the Gemara refuted that and proved that no, Misa is a knas, a decree, a phenomenon, an event applied to all of humanity as a result of the Chet of Eitz Hadas. Similarly, Yisurim, afflictions, can befall a person even if he didn't do Ava, for instance, Yisurim shel Ava. And finally, the Gemara concludes that although we find sometimes very grave sins attributed to great tzaddikim, but not necessarily are those descriptions meant to be taken literally.